My name is Natalie Brooks. I'm 32 years old, and the day my boyfriend announced he was keeping his options open was the day I realized I'd been treating my own heart like a waiting room. It happened at brunch, of all places. Trendy spot downtown, exposed brick, plants hanging from the ceiling, the kind of place that charges extra for oat milk and calls it elevated. It was a Sunday, late morning, sunlight bouncing off the windows, mimosas sweating in tall glasses. His entire friend group was there. 6 guys and girls, all hovering around 30, trading stories about work and relationships like it was a competition. I'd been dating my boyfriend Jason for 4 years. We lived separately, but we spent most nights together. I thought we were solid. Not perfect, but normal, stable. I was halfway through my Eggs Benedict when it happened. His friend Mark had just finished talking about a coworker's engagement. Everyone was passing around a photo of the ring, reacting with the appropriate level of drama. "That's insane," one of the women said. "They've only been together 2 years." "At least she locked it down," another joked. "I'm not wasting my 20s on someone who won't commit." Jason swallowed a sip of his mimosa and leaned back in his chair, like he'd been waiting for his moment. "Honestly," he said, loud enough for the whole table to hear, "I'm keeping my options open until I see a real reason not to." The table laughed, thinking he was just chiming in. He wasn't done. "I mean, no offense, Nat," he added, glancing at me for half a second, "but why would anyone close doors before there's, an actual ring on the table? I could be wasting years if things don't work out." He said it like he was talking about a gym membership. I was sitting right there, fork in my hand, coffee cup halfway to my mouth. The girl across from me flicked her eyes toward mine, like she was checking to see if I'd heard him correctly. I had. Every word. His best friend, Tyler, laughed. "You're such a strategist, man." Jason shrugged, smiling. "I'm realistic. I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket without commitment. I'm dating Natalie, sure, but I'm not exclusive until I see that level of seriousness." My chest went tight. I felt myself go very still, like my brain had hit pause while my body stayed seated at the table. 4 years together, and this was the first time he'd said anything like that, and he said it to his friends first, with me as background noise. Another friend cleared her throat. That's one way to look at it." "It's the smart way," Jason insisted. "It's 2024. Why should I limit my options when she could walk away tomorrow? People do it all the time." He meant it. That was the worst part. There wasn't a hint of a joke in his eyes. Just casual calculation. I set my cup down carefully. My hand didn't shake. I was proud of that. "You're absolutely right," I said. Jason finally looked at me fully, a little surprised I'd spoken. "You think so?" "Yeah," I said, keeping my voice even. "Keeping your options open makes total sense. No point being exclusive with someone who hasn't actually committed to you." His smile widened. "See? She gets it." I took a slow breath. "So," I added, "I'm keeping my options open too." His smile died like someone cut the power. "What?" he asked. "What do you mean?" "You're keeping your options open," I said. "I'm keeping mine open. Fair is fair, right?" "That's not—" He looked around at his friends, suddenly aware of the audience he'd created. "I didn't mean it like that." "Didn't mean what?" I asked quietly. "You just announced to everyone here that you're not exclusive to me. I'm just matching your strategy." The table went silent. Silverware stopped. One of his friends suddenly became fascinated with the condensation on her glass. Jason gave a tight, embarrassed laugh. "Can we talk about this later?" He was still smiling, but his voice had gone sharp at the edges. "There's nothing to talk about," I said. "You stated your position. I'm agreeing with it." I finished my bite of eggs, wiped my mouth with my napkin, and laid it neatly on the table. Then I pulled my wallet from my bag, dropped a 40 on the table for my half of brunch, and stood up. Jason's chair scraped loudly as he turned toward me. "Where are you going?" "Out," I said. "Got things to do. Options to explore, you know." I didn't raise my voice, didn't create a scene. I just walked away from the table, feeling all 6 pairs of eyes burning between my shoulder blades. My phone buzzed 3 times before I even reached the sidewalk. By the time I got to my car, he'd texted 12 times. "Jason, that was not cool." "Jason, you made me look stupid in front of my friends." "Jason, I didn't mean I was actually dating other people." I sat in the driver's seat, stared at the screen, then opened our thread. "Me, you said you're keeping your options open. I'm doing the same. That's what open means." He replied almost instantly. "Jason, you know what I meant." "Me, I know exactly what you meant." "Me, you want to keep me as a backup while you look for something better." "Me, so I'm doing the same." Typing bubbles. Stop. Start. Stop. Jason, that's not what I said. I scrolled up, screenshot his exact words, sent it back. Me. I'm not exclusive until I see that level of seriousness. Me. I'm keeping my options open. Me. Your exact words, in front of witnesses. Of. He didn't respond for 3 hours. I drove home in silence. No music, no podcast. Just the sound of my own breathing and the faint ringing in my ears that usually followed a panic attack I refused to let happen. When I walked into my apartment, I dropped my keys in the bowl by the door and stared at the couch where he usually sat, scrolling through his phone while I cooked us dinner. 4 years of habits suddenly looked very small in my living room. My phone finally pinged. Jason, can we please talk about this face to face? I stared at the message, at the way he framed it like I was being unreasonable for taking him literally. Me, can't tonight, got a date. I didn't, not yet, but I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to spend the night convincing a man to choose me. He called. Again. 8 times in a row. I turned my phone face down on the counter and let it buzz itself into silence. To be clear, I didn't magically have a date appear out of thin air. What I had were options I'd shut down because he asked me to. No, because he expected me to. Months ago, I'd deleted every dating app on my phone to show I was serious. He'd kept his profiles for networking. That should have been a red flag. Instead, I'd called it compromise. I opened the App Store. Every icon looked like a dare. I downloaded them anyway. As the progress bars filled, my brain kept replaying his voice at brunch. The easy way he'd said, wasting years, like our relationship was a bad investment he was still deciding whether to cut. I made a profile, chose a picture where I looked like myself on a good day, laughing, hair messy from the wind, a coffee cup in my hand, wrote a simple bio, no inspirational quotes, no games. Looking for someone who knows what they want and isn't keeping their options open. Petty? Maybe. Honest? Absolutely. Within an hour, the matches and messages started trickling in. Normal guys, some cringe, some sweet. A few I immediately swiped left on. A couple I paused over longer than I expected. One profile caught my eye. Daniel, 33, high school history teacher. In his main photo, he was standing in front of a group of kids on a field trip, smiling like he actually liked being there. His bio read, into books, museums, and people who say what they mean the first time. I stared at that sentence for a long time. My phone buzzed with another text from Jason. Jason, are you seriously going on a date? Jason, this is insane, Nat. No, I thought. What's insane is announcing to your entire friend group that I'm your backup plan and expecting me to thank you for it. I swiped right on Daniel. It was a small motion, barely a flick of my thumb. But it felt like drawing a chalk line on the floor of my own life and stepping over it. Daniel matched with me within 10 minutes. It was a little jolt of validation seeing the "It's a match" banner pop up like confetti. I clicked into his profile again, reread the line about people who say what they mean the first time, then opened the chat box. I stared at the blinking cursor longer than I'd admit. Finally, I typed, me. So how does a history teacher feel about modern dating? He replied 3 minutes later. Daniel, like I should have stayed in the 90s. Fewer apps, more mixtapes. I smiled, felt my shoulders loosen for the first time that day. We traded messages for an hour. Nothing fancy, work, favorite movies, the worst date either of us had ever been on. He was funny, in a quiet way. He asked questions and actually waited for answers. No weird negging, no LOL you seem different, all this nonsense. It was normal, nice. The next morning, the fallout started. I woke to a dozen notifications. Not from Daniel. From numbers and names I recognized, in that sickening way you recognize a number from the doctor's office. Jason's best friend Tyler had texted, Tyler, you're being ridiculous. He didn't mean he wanted to see other people. I blinked at the message, hair still a mess on the pillow. Me. Then he shouldn't have announced in front of 6 people that he's keeping his options open. Tyler replied instantly, like he'd been waiting. Tyler, he was just talking. You're punishing him for being honest. Me. I'm taking him at his word. If he's keeping his options open, I'm keeping mine open. Tyler, you're being a child. It was funny, in a bitter way. The word childish coming from grown adults who thought consequences were optional. I blocked his number. An hour later, as I was finishing my coffee, my phone lit up with another call. This time, it was his sister, Emily. I hesitated, then answered. Hello? She didn't bother with hello. What the hell is wrong with you? She demanded. Good morning to you, too, I said, stirring my coffee. Jason is a mess, she snapped. He was up all night. He said you humiliated him at brunch. He humiliated himself, I replied calmly, when he announced to his entire friend group that I'm an open option. You know that's not what he meant. Then maybe he should say what he means, I said. He's 31, not 13. You're really going to throw away 4 years over this? I stared out my kitchen window at the couple across the street walking their dog. They were talking softly, moving in step, like two people who knew where the other would be without looking. I'm not throwing anything away, I said. I'm doing exactly what Jason said he was doing, keeping my options open. There was a furious inhale on the other end. You know what? Just whatever, she said. Don't come crying to us when you realize you made a mistake. I won't, I said and ended the call. My hands were steady, my heart wasn't. That evening, Daniel sent another message. Daniel, bold question. Would you want to grab coffee sometime this week? If you say no, I promise I'll recover with only minor emotional damage. I laughed out loud. It surprised me how easy the sound came. Me, coffee sounds good. Wednesday? Daniel, perfect. There's a place near the museum downtown. 7 p.m.? We confirmed the details. I put my phone down and realized I felt something I hadn't felt all weekend. Hope. Tiny, cautious, but there. By Wednesday, Jason had tried every tactic he knew. Angry texts, guilty texts, romantic texts, middle of the night, I miss you messages. At one point, he even sent a selfie of us from 2 years ago with, remember this? I did. I remembered that trip. I remembered paying for most of it on my card and him saying he'd catch me next time. I muted the thread. Wednesday at 6:45 p.m., I was standing outside the little coffee shop Daniel had picked, smoothing my hands down my dress and cursing myself for caring how my hair looked. He was already there, waiting by the door. He looked like his pictures, brown hair, warm eyes, slightly crooked smile. He waved when he saw me, like we were old friends meeting up instead of strangers from an app. Hey, he said, Natalie? That's me, I replied. Daniel? In the flesh, he said, and in the cardigan. Teachers are contractually obligated, I think. We ordered coffees. The plan was coffee and we'll see, the safe, low-stakes version of a date. We ended up staying 3 hours. We talked about our families, about ridiculous work stories, about the time one of his students tried to convince him that Alexander the Great was a TikTok influencer. He asked about my last relationship once, lightly. I gave him the abridged version. 4 years, I said. He recently announced to his friends that he's keeping his options open until he sees a ring. Daniel winced. Yikes! Yeah, I said, so I'm taking him at his word. Well, Daniel said, eyes kind. For what it's worth, I think anyone who says that out loud is telling you exactly who they are. Yeah, I said softly. I'm starting to realize that. By the time we left, coffee had turned into a walk around downtown. Streetlights hummed on. The city glowed soft and gold. I had a really good time, he said as we stopped by my car. Me too, I said, like unexpectedly good. Can I see you again? He asked. A few months ago, I would have hedged, said something vague, kept my own options open. Now I was suddenly tired of hedging. Yes, I said, you can. He smiled, relieved. Saturday? There's a museum exhibit I've been wanting to see. Very nerdy, very educational, mildly romantic, depending on how you feel about ancient pottery. I'm open-minded about pottery, I said. Saturday sounds good. We parted with a hug that lingered just long enough to feel like a promise, not long enough to feel like pressure. I drove home feeling like my chest had been unclenched for the first time in weeks. My phone started ringing before I'd even taken off my shoes. Jason. I let it go to voicemail. He called again, and again. Finally, I answered, more out of exhaustion than curiosity. What? I said. You're seriously dating other people? He demanded. No hello, no breath. You told me you were keeping your options open, I said, toeing off my heels. I'm keeping mine open. I didn't actually mean I was going to date other people, he snapped. It was just a figure of speech. Then what did keeping my options open mean? It meant I'm not ready to get engaged yet, he said quickly. That I need time. That doesn't mean I want you running around with random dudes. Cool, I said. So we're not exclusive, got it. That's not what I said. That is exactly what you said, I replied. You told a table of 6 people that you're not exclusive with me until there's a ring. I believed you. I made a mistake, he said, voice cracking. You're just going to throw 4 years away over one comment? I'm not throwing anything away, I said quietly. I'm keeping my options open. Your idea, remember? There was a beat of silence. Then, venom. You know what? I hate you right now. That's fair, I said, but you should stop calling me. You have a date, don't you? He spit. That's why you didn't answer. You were out with some guy. Actually, yes, I said. I was, and it went well. The silence this time was sharp enough to cut. That's disgusting, he finally said. You're disgusting, after everything I've done for you. I almost laughed. Instead, I said, You should go to sleep, Jason. You're going to regret this, he snarled. You'll see. No guy is going to put up with you long term. If that's true, I said, at least they'll be honest about it. I'm coming over, he said suddenly. We're talking about this in person. No, I said, we're not. He hung up. 10 minutes later, he was pounding on my apartment door. Natalie, open up! My heart jumped into my throat. I moved quietly, turned the deadbolt, and left the chain on. The hallway light glowed under the door. Open the door, he shouted. We're not doing this over the phone. We're not doing this at all, I called back. My neighbor's door across the hall cracked open. Mrs. Bennett, mid-50s, tiny and sharp as a bird, peered out. You okay, honey? She asked. I'm fine, I said. Jason, go home, or I'm calling the cops. You wouldn't, he scoffed. I picked up my phone and started dialing. Willing to test that theory? He swore under his breath, loud enough for both of us to hear. This isn't over, he said. You'll come crawling back. You always do. That's the thing, I said softly, more to myself than to him. Not this time. His footsteps retreated down the hall. Mrs. Bennett stepped fully into view, robe wrapped tight. Do I need to call building security? She asked. I think he's gone, I said. My hands were shaking now that the moment had passed. But, thank you. You deserve better than a man who screams in hallways, she said matter-of-factly. Get some rest. When I finally crawled into bed, my phone buzzed with a new message. Daniel, I had a really great time tonight. Just wanted to say that again before I crash. I stared at the screen, at the quiet contrast between the man pounding on my door and the one sending a gentle check-in text. Me. I had a great time too. Sleep well. As I set my phone on the nightstand, a thought settled over me like a blanket. Maybe keeping my options open wasn't about revenge. Maybe it was just about finally believing I had options at all. The knocking didn't stop. For 2 days straight, Jason tried every strategy he knew. Logic, guilt, nostalgia, anger. He shifted between tones so fast it felt like watching someone flip through radio stations in a storm. I ignored every call. By Friday, the silence seemed to finally sink in. At 9 p.m., I got a single text from him. Jason, if you're done being dramatic, we can talk. I didn't respond. I was sitting on my couch with my legs curled under me, hair damp from a shower, a blanket over my shoulders, thinking about how surreal life felt. 4 years with a man who called me his future, and somehow his friend group now knew before I did that he didn't consider us exclusive. My phone buzzed again, but this time it wasn't him. Daniel. Hey, no pressure, but if you're still up for tomorrow, I'm looking forward to the museum. I'll bring my most impressive ancient pottery commentary. I exhaled, relieved in a way I didn't know I needed. Me, same. And I fully expect educational jokes. Daniel, you'll regret that expectation. I smiled and set the phone down, feeling softer around the edges. Saturday arrived like a reset button. The museum was quiet, the way good museums are. Soft footsteps, hushed conversations, the click of camera shutters. Daniel met me by the entrance wearing jeans, a navy hoodie, and that same cardigan from our coffee date. You made it, he said, smiling like he actually meant it. I did, I said. Even researched pottery humor. He groaned. Oh no, you're too powerful. We walked through the exhibit slowly. He pointed out small details, the little things most people skip. The uneven brushstroke on a 17th century vase, the tiny nicks along the rim that revealed how it had actually been used. History isn't big events, he said. It's small wear and tear moments that survive long enough for us to see them. I watched the way he talked. Gentle hands, eyes bright, voice low so it didn't echo. It felt safe. No audience, no performance, no strategy. Just two people trying their best to be honest. Halfway through the second floor, my phone buzzed again. I didn't need to look to know who it was. I slid it deeper into my coat pocket, and Daniel pretended not to notice, which I appreciated more than he knew. After the museum, we walked to a small cafe nearby, shared a pastry, talked about holiday traditions, favorite books, stupid mistakes we'd made in our 20s. Around 3 p.m., as we stepped back out into the sunlight, Daniel stopped. Okay, he said. I need to ask a question, and I promise it's not going to be weird. I raised an eyebrow. That's usually what someone says right before it gets weird. He laughed. I deserve that. Still, we should talk about this. He took a breath. Are you actually open to dating right now? or are you here to make someone jealous? I blinked, surprised he'd said it so plainly. I'm here, I said carefully, because you make me feel like a person instead of a placeholder. He nodded slowly. Okay, good, because I like you, and I'm not really a options open kind of guy. I smiled at that. Yeah, I'm starting to like that phrase less and less. So, he said, voice gentler now, are we keeping our options open, or should I stop swiping? My heart thudded once, hard against my ribs. There it was, the thing Jason never offered. A choice without a test, a question without a trap. I don't want to keep my options open, I said, not with you. Daniel's expression softened into something warm and certain. In that case, he said, I'd really like to keep seeing you, exclusively. Then we're exclusive, I said. We stood there on this sidewalk, the city humming around us, the sun turning everything gold. And I realized this was the first time in months, maybe years, I wasn't bracing for disappointment. We hugged goodbye, slower this time, realer. I drove home feeling light, like I'd stepped out of a storm and didn't realize how soaked I'd been until I finally reached shelter. The storm wasn't done with me. Sunday morning, I woke up to 5 missed calls from Jason, then 2 voicemails, then 3 messages from his sister, and, oddly, 1 message from an unknown number. Unknown, please talk to me, I love you. Blocked. Unknown, another number. Natalie, I'm begging you, please. Blocked. I was in the middle of brewing coffee when the doorbell rang. I froze. My first thought was Jason. My second was Mrs. Bennett. My third was, I should not answer that. I checked the peephole. It wasn't Jason. It was a delivery guy holding a massive bouquet of roses, the kind you send when you're either proposing or apologizing for something unforgivable. Delivery for Natalie? He asked. I didn't order anything. Yeah, it's from a Jason, card inside. He handed it over. I reluctantly took it and closed the door. The card read, I'm sorry. Please call me. J. I set the bouquet on the counter and stared at it. It stared back, criminally red. 2 hours later, someone knocked again. Another delivery guy, this time with chocolates. I didn't even take the box. Return to sender, I said, and shut the door. On Monday, it escalated. My office phone rang. I answered out of habit. A receptionist whispered, There's a woman here for you. My stomach lurched. What woman? She says her name is Emily, your boyfriend's sister? I closed my eyes. Please tell her I'm unavailable. I did, the receptionist whispered. She's insisting. I sighed. I'm coming down. Emily was pacing the lobby like a storm in heels. She turned when she saw me. You need to stop, she hissed. Stop what? I asked calmly. Dating that guy, making Jason miserable, destroying his life. I bit back a laugh. I'm not destroying anything. Jason set the rules. I followed them. He's sorry. He said it to his friends, I replied. He meant it. He was joking. So, he still meant it. She threw her hands up. You're choosing a random teacher over my brother after 4 years? I'm choosing someone who actually wants to be with me, without conditions, without games. Emily's face flushed deep red. You're unbelievable. Maybe, I said, but at least I'm consistent. She stepped closer, voice dropping into something venomous. You will regret this. And you need to leave, I said, before security escorts you out. She glared, seething. He loved you. No, I said quietly. He wanted me as a backup plan. Security approached. Emily spun on her heel and stormed out, heels clacking like gunshots. My boss called me into his office 20 minutes later. He rubbed his forehead. Your ex's sister caused a scene in the lobby. I'm handling it, I said. See that you do, he replied. This is a workplace. I nodded, cheeks burning. Everything Jason touched turned to drama. Everything Daniel touched felt calm. And somewhere between those two truths, I realized something simple. I wasn't choosing between 2 men. I was choosing between the person I used to be and the one I was becoming. That night, Daniel called. Hey, he said, warm and easy. Rough day? You have no idea. Well, he said, I'm here if you want to talk. No pressure, no expectations. My throat tightened unexpectedly. No games, no conditions, no options. He chose me. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I could choose myself too. By the time a full week passed, Jason didn't just spiral, he detonated. It started small, annoying, disruptive, borderline pathetic. Then it escalated into something that made my building's security staff start asking me if I wanted them to walk me to my car. I kept telling them no. I kept telling myself I was fine. But the truth was, I had never seen this version of him before. Thursday afternoon, my workday was almost over when my dad texted. Dad, dinner this weekend? Want to hear about this new guy? I smiled. My mom already loved Daniel, mostly because he offered to help her carry groceries the first time he met her. And my mom's heart is basically engineered to melt at basic kindness. Me, yes. Saturday? Dad, perfect. Mom says she wants to make that pasta you love. Me, tell her I'm already excited. It was a warm, normal moment, something soft, grounding. After a week of chaos, it felt like a warm towel straight out of the dryer. Then my phone buzzed again, from a number I didn't recognize. Unknown. Answer the phone, now. I deleted it. 2 minutes later. Unknown. I'm downstairs. If you don't come talk to me, I'm coming up. My stomach twisted. I checked the peephole even though I knew he wouldn't be standing there. He wasn't stupid enough to get caught on camera upstairs. I walked to the balcony window, slowly slid one blind open. Jason was standing on the sidewalk across the street, hands in his pockets, staring at my building like it had personally offended him. I closed the blinds hard. My phone buzzed again. Unknown. I know you're home. I see your car. I typed back one sentence. Me. Leave before I call police. Unknown. Wow. Low blow. He stayed another 10 minutes, just standing there. Then he walked away. My hands shook for a full hour afterward. Saturday arrived. Dinner with my parents, my little sister, and Daniel. The exact opposite of chaos. My mom made pasta like she promised. My dad uncorked a bottle of wine he'd been saving. My sister teased me mercilessly about the museum teacher. Daniel took it all in with a quiet smile, answering questions easily, helping my mom with dishes, laughing at my dad's terrible history puns. He fit, not in a fireworks way, in a furniture that's been in your family for years way. After dinner, as we all stood by the doorway, my dad pulled me aside. Is the ex still causing problems? He murmured. I exhaled. He showed up at my building. Again. My dad's jaw tightened. Want me to talk to him? No, I said, touching his arm. I've got it. Dad lifted an eyebrow. You sure? I nodded. I'm choosing better now. He softened. Good, because that boy was a walking red flag. I smiled. It took me a while to see it. But you see it now, he said. That's what matters. Week 4 was when things truly crossed into unhinged territory. Monday morning, 2 a.m. to 4 a.m., 6 missed calls from different numbers. Tuesday, a handwritten note slid under my door. I need closure. Talk to me. I ripped it in half and threw it away. Wednesday, I turned the corner to my apartment after work and found him sitting on the floor of the hallway, back against the wall, head down. My heart stopped. I froze 10 feet away. How did you get in? I managed. He looked up slowly. His eyes were red, hair a mess, hoodie rumpled like he'd slept in it. I waited for someone to leave, he said simply. Jason, you can't be here. He stood. Then let's talk, please. No. Natalie. His voice cracked. I'll close my options. I'll commit. I'll do whatever you want. I shook my head. You only say that now because someone else chose me. That's not true. Funny. That's what it feels like. He stepped forward. I stepped back. The air between us turned thin, sharp. You're choosing him? He asked, voice small and angry at the same time. Over me? After everything? I'm choosing someone who never made me feel like a contingency plan. That's not fair. It's the fairest thing I've ever done. His face twisted, hurt, disbelief, then defensiveness. Natalie, I love you. No, I said gently. You love having options. He flinched like I'd slapped him. Get some help, I said quietly. Seriously, before this turns into something worse. His eyes narrowed. The softness evaporated. You're heartless. No, I said. I'm done. I pulled out my phone, dialed building security. He stared at me, stunned, then backed away. You wouldn't. She would, came a voice behind me. Mrs. Bennet, standing in her doorway like a guardian angel in fuzzy slippers. Jason stared at both of us, shook his head once, and bolted down the stairs. I thanked her later. She brought me cookies. Thursday night, Daniel and I had dinner at a small Italian restaurant with low lights and soft music. Halfway through the meal, he reached across the table and took my hand. Does it bother you how he's acting? He asked, voice low. It bothers me that he won't stop, I said. But does it bother me that he's upset? Not really. That sounds cold. Maybe, I said. But he announced to an entire group of people that he wasn't exclusive with me. I don't owe him sympathy for facing the consequences. Daniel nodded slowly. Fair point. He wanted to hedge his bets, I said. Keep me as a backup plan while he looked for something better. It backfired. It always does, Daniel murmured. People underestimate the damage of not choosing someone fully. Did that happen to you? I asked. He looked at his plate, then back at me. Yeah, he said. My ex-girlfriend did something similar. Wanted to keep things casual while she explored other options. I walked away early. And now? And now, he said, squeezing my hand. I know exactly what I want. My chest warmed. Me too, I said. After dinner, we went for a walk. The city felt smaller, safer, with his hand in mine. I'm really glad I met you, I said softly. Daniel smiled. Me too. And for the record, you deserve someone who makes you feel chosen every day. I stopped walking, looked up at him. I think I finally believe that. He leaned in and kissed me. Slow, sure, the kind that says I'm here. Really here. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like anyone's second choice. By Friday, the chaos wasn't done with me yet. Jason's sister showed up at my favorite bar, the one I always went to with my friends on Friday nights. She stormed straight up to me, cornering me by the bar. You need to stop this, she hissed. I sighed. Stop what? Dating that teacher, making my brother miserable, this whole revenge thing. It's not revenge, I said. Your brother said he was keeping his options open. I did the same, and I found someone better. He wants to be exclusive now. Too late, I said. He had 4 years to figure that out. You're being petty. I'm being practical. She glared, then grabbed her drink and threw it in my face. My friends gasped. The bartender saw it happen. Half the bar turned. Wine dripped down my chin, my shirt soaked, my hair plastered to my forehead. Wow, I said flatly. That's mature. You're ruining his life, she shouted. Get out, the bartender snapped. Security escorted her out while she screamed about home wreckers and family loyalty. When the door finally slammed behind her, the entire bar went silent for a beat. Then the bartender handed me a towel and a fresh drink. On the house, he said. You didn't deserve that. I nodded, throat tight. Daniel texted an hour later. Daniel, everything okay? You left early. Me. Jason's sister threw wine on me. Daniel, I'm coming over. Me. You don't have to. Daniel, I know, but I want to. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel alone in the storm. Daniel arrived at my apartment 30 minutes after I texted him. I opened the door, still wearing the shirt Jason's sister had drenched in wine, now washed, but faintly stained at the collar, a ghost of chaos left behind. Daniel took one look at me and sighed in that quiet, protective way that made me feel seen without being pitied. Are you okay? He asked softly. I'm fine, I said, even though I wasn't entirely sure. Just tired. Want company? Yes, I breathed, stepping aside. He came in with grocery store tiramisu, a soft hoodie draped over his arm, and a small carton of my favorite ice cream. I wasn't sure what kind of comfort person you are, he said, so I brought options. I let out a laugh I didn't expect. Good options. We sat on the couch, and I told him everything, word for word, moment by moment. The bar, the yelling, the thrown drink, the security dragging her out, how numb I'd felt afterward. How much I hated that chaos had followed me for weeks. I'm sorry, he murmured, taking my hand. You don't deserve this. I know, I said quietly, and I think that's the first time I've said that and actually meant it. He kissed the back of my hand, just a brush of his lips, gentle, grounding. You're not alone, he said, not anymore. And for the first time in 4 years, I believed that comfort wasn't a trap. 2 weeks later, my birthday arrived. I planned a small dinner, intimate, quiet, safe. My parents, my sister, 3 close friends, and Daniel. We booked a private room at a nice restaurant downtown, warm lighting, flickering candles, white tablecloths. I wore a simple navy dress. Daniel wore a button-down, hair slightly mussed, like he'd been running his hands through it nervously. Halfway through dinner, mid-laughter, mid-cheesecake, the door opened, and my stomach dropped. Jason walked in. The room fell silent, like someone had hit a mute button. He looked around wildly until his eyes found mine. How did you... I started. I asked your mom where you'd be, he said quickly, stepping inside. She told me before I explained who I was. My mom slapped a hand over her mouth. I thought he was from your work. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I had no idea. It's okay, Mom, I said gently, though my heart was pounding in my ears. Jason, you need to leave. He took a shaky breath. I brought you a gift. It's your birthday. I don't want it, I said. Please leave. Just hear me out, he begged. 5 minutes. I didn't move. No. He rushed forward then, leaning too close, too fast. Daniel stood up instantly, moving to my side. My dad's chair scraped loudly as he rose too. Jason ignored all of them. You used to love me, he said, voice cracking. We had 4 years. You're throwing everything away because of one stupid comment. You announced to 6 people that you were keeping your options open, I said. I took you at your word. She's not better than me, he spat suddenly, turning toward Daniel with cold jealousy, sharpening his voice. Daniel stepped forward, calm and steady. She doesn't need someone who treats her like a backup plan, he said. She needs honesty, commitment, respect, things you didn't give her. Jason's jaw clenched. You don't even know her. Daniel didn't flinch. I know enough. Jason looked back at me like a drowning man looking for anything to grab onto. You homewrecker, he hissed at Daniel. There was no home left to wreck, Daniel replied. My sister whispered, Oh my God. Jason's voice rose, frantic. Natalie, please, I'll do anything. I'll commit. I'll prove it. Just tell him to leave. Tell them all to leave and we'll talk. Jason, I said, and my voice surprised even me. It wasn't angry. It wasn't emotional. It was final. You're not the victim. You're the cause. His eyes flickered. Rage, hurt, disbelief, denial, all blending into something unstable. Then the restaurant manager appeared with 2 security guards. Sir, the manager said, this is a private event. You need to leave. Jason lunged as they approached. Not at them. At me. Please, he begged, voice cracking into something desperate. Don't choose him. Don't throw away what we had. Security grabbed him by both arms. He didn't fight, not physically. He fought with words instead. You'll regret this, he screamed as they dragged him backward. You're choosing him over 4 years? Really? Really? I didn't look away. I'm choosing myself, I said softly. The guards guided him through the door, his voice muffled as it closed behind them. Silence. Heavy, stunned silence. Then the manager reappeared, cheeks flushed. Dessert is on the house, he said apologetically. My mom looked mortified. My dad looked ready to strangle someone. My sister looked like she wanted to clap. Daniel sat next to me again, sliding his chair close. You okay? He asked. I nodded. Actually, yes. He took my hand under the table. And for the first time in months, the tightness in my chest vanished. A week later, one of Jason's old friends texted me a massive message dump. Apparently, Jason had been keeping his options open. Literally. He'd gone on casual dates behind my back. Nothing serious, but enough to prove what I suspected. Open options wasn't theoretical. He'd been hoping I wouldn't do the same. Worse, when he told new women what happened, the brunch announcement, most of them bailed. One even told his friend, why would I date a man who publicly kept his options open until he had a guaranteed backup? That's a walking red flag. His friend group began distancing themselves. His sister stopped defending him after she heard the whole story. His parents tried calling me one last time. His mother said, you broke his heart. I replied, he broke his own heart when he announced publicly he was keeping his options open. He didn't mean it, she insisted. He said it in front of 6 witnesses, I said. He meant it. You were vindictive, she snapped. No, I said. I was consistent. I blocked her after that. 3 months later, Daniel proposed. It wasn't extravagant. No audience, no spectacle, just us in the park, a quiet morning, sunlight catching in the trees. When he got down on one knee, I cried before he even opened the ring box. Yes, I said, breathless. Yes, of course. We're getting married next spring. Small ceremony, close friends, family, no drama, no games. Just 2 people who choose each other the first time, without hesitation, without strategies, without options. At dinner with my family last month, my sister asked me, do you ever think about Jason? I didn't even have to pause. No, not even a little, not even a flicker. He's a lesson now, not a memory. A reminder that when someone tells you they're keeping their options open, believe them. And keep yours open too. But the real victory wasn't that I found someone better. The real victory was that I finally believed I deserved someone who didn't need a ring, an audience, or a threat to commit. Someone who chose me from day one, and I chose him back.